Hey guys!
Hey!
Thanks for tuning in to our very first video. We are so excited. My name's Leah.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Lolita. So we created this channel for people in recovery or anyone that might be struggling with addiction or anyone interested in discussions based on real life topics.
We have some awesome upcoming guest speakers sharing their experience, strength, and hope, and we will be covering some relatable content. So make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss a beat.
Opinions expressed here are those of the individual, not necessarily those of Narcotics Anonymous.
So today's video, the topic is fear. So we'll go over some ways that we feel fear and what we do to cope and overcome those feelings.
Yeah, and to get right into it, what is fear? So we have the definition. It is an unpleasant emotion, which is a feeling, caused by the belief, which is a thought, that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
So just something I jot down is as human beings, we're really adaptable and we learn to be content with our situations and our surroundings. You can learn to live in your fear. Never taking chances, never welcoming change. Personally, I used for 15 years because I learned to be content in the misery and I was fearful to fail in any other way of life, living in any other way. What's going on in our world today has forced me back to a more isolated way of life, as I have seen everyone is being affected by. But with working my program personally, I've learned that I don't have to be stuck anymore in the situations that I can't control.
So what are some things that you're afraid of?
Yeah, well, a huge one for me that has been a crippling fear of mine is fear of rejection.
Yeah, and for me, I know I have a huge fear of failure. You know, what about you?
Okay, well, I would say that my fear would be dying with regrets. I would feel like, I don't want to, die without leaving some sort of legacy or some sort of accomplishments behind. And because of that fear, it almost gives me a sort of anxiety that makes me very worrisome all the time that I won't achieve it. So instead of feeling that fear, instead of wanting to feel that anxiety, what I do, as I was just saying, is I just sit in where I'm content. And that would be, doing the things that I do, calling the people I call, going to work, then just coming home, watching my shows, cooking my food. And that's all what we all do, but I just stay right there. I don't have to feel failure. I don't have to feel, so if my fear is regret and I don't want to feel that, then I just do nothing.
Right.
And that's gotten me nowhere. So I'm aware of it, it's just
That's really
where are the
interesting.
solutions.
Yeah, that reminds me of something that I heard years ago. Actually, I was in rehab, but years ago, and it was so profound to me. It was even hell can become comfortable if you're used to it, right?
Yes.
So the chaos, right? We become more comfortable in chaos than when things are calm or going well, right? And that's where a lot of self-sabotage for us comes
100%.
from.
Yeah.
Feeling like either we're not good enough and this isn't comfortable for us, or receiving good things, or we don't feel worthy of good things.
I took a quiz yesterday and it asked me this question and it said, when are you the most motivated? And I had to be honest, my answer was when I'm already successful.
Oh,
I'm not the most motivated when I have nothing. I'm not the most motivated. I'm most motivated when I am already doing well.
I think a lot of people can really,
Right.
I think a lot of people can really relate to that. And so I think the point to get across, one thing that I want to get across is that you can reframe and kind of rethink what you're doing, right? So how does that start? By kind of identifying what triggers fear and then changing how you react to your response of fear.
Right.
Instead of staying stuck in your fear response, learn how to take action and walk through it and overcome your fear instead of having your fear hold you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So these are just things that I was thinking of, my 3 perspectives on fear. So there's that fear that probably is the first thought that you think of when you think about fear, is that fear that you don't like, that makes you angry. Right, yeah, the fear that stops me from doing things that I think I'm supposed to do, that crippling fear, anxious fear that I become resentful of. But then,
fear that you become resentful of.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you were talking
think
about.
so. I think
yeah,
that's what
in
you're
a
saying.
form of maybe regret, resentment.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 2 different things, but ooh,
Right. You can
that's-
have You can just stay where you're at and be perfectly fine there, and then you don't have to say, oh well, I failed or I regret even trying.
And then resent yourself
Like,
in the end.
I'm just like good where I am.
That's crazy.
But there's no growth there,
Right.
Mhm.
and that's having
That's being
fear.
stuck.
That's
Yeah,
being
that's being
fearful
stuck.
of being better than what you are right now, and we can always continue to be better.
But then a really cool perspective of fear that I heard a woman sharing about is being grateful for fear. And so this fear is the fear that protects you, right? The fear that I believe that God put inside of us to kind of
Protect
judge,
us.
right?
Yeah.
Like that level of judgment to know like what's right or what's wrong or what's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So thanking fear for showing up in those times, right?
Fear of relapse.
Yeah,
Like
and
we
that's
were
the
talking
healthy.
about
That's
earlier.
well, that's
Okay,
that's
sorry.
my well,
So,
that's all right.
yeah.
But you're right. So that's that healthy fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like I know my limits kind of deal.
Yeah.
You know, and for me personally, like a healthy fear of God. You know, like having that reverence, having that
Yeah.
respect.
100%
basically.
keeps you in line.
Yeah,
keeps
keeps
me
you
in
in
It
line.
makes you wonder if fear would even exist if everyone had always succeeded, if nothing bad ever happened, if you never saw anyone fail. And that reminds me of actually something that I had, or someone had said to me, or something I read, and it said, if you already knew that you were going to succeed, wouldn't you try?
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't you go through all the steps to get it if you knew that at the end you would succeed?
Yeah.
Wow, that's so
But
good.
we don't.
That is.
We don't
And the
know.
fear of the unknown.
Right, we don't know. It just was a weird thing. I'm like, I wonder if I've never seen anyone fail, if I would never actually be afraid.
Right. So I think actually that fear was always intended to be a positive thing to protect us, right? Like it's
Right.
in our brains to have that understanding of what's harmful,
Right.
right? Like to protect us back
And-
in the old days,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
we need
Back
like
in
the
the old
old
days.
days.
If you
You
sin,
know-
you'll go to hell.
Yeah, but us as humans, and I don't want to get like too religious or anything like that, but us as humans, we have a tendency to take something, that's supposed to be good for us and it gets convoluted.
No, but it is. So fear is something that I think is within us, right? I was reading a bunch of stuff and it's literally in our limbic system, right? So we were
Limbic system.
so we were given that ability to judge unsafe.
Like a sense.
right, exactly. The fight, flight, fright, or
Mhm.
fight.
Fight, flight,
Fight, flight, freeze, or
Oh.
fright. Right? So that's within us. But we have now like you said, convoluted it, like
Mhm.
made it to where our own insecurities or inadequacies, whether they're just things that we believe about ourselves, or maybe people have been raised with family members that have told them they're not good enough or they're not going to be good enough, or
When does the fear stop becoming a positive thing and start affecting you negatively?
Well,
like,
when does it stop
exactly.
protecting you and
Yeah.
start debilitating you?
yeah,
Well, I know
Woo,
for
yes.
me,
That's
fear
good.
has debilitated me, and everybody that I really know, like fear is a thing where the ability to identify what's triggering fear.
I think it's a trickling effect, right? As
It
you
is a
said,
trickling effect.
trigger. It made me think about, I was pretty content, right? As I usually am, I hide in that contentness. And then I found out, okay, I'm only going down to 2 days of work. So I'm like triggered all of a sudden to think about all the other things that what's going on in our world today might affect me negatively. And I didn't think about any of the positives. Okay, more time for, like, Alita just bought a vision board. She's going to work on some of the things that she hasn't had the time to do. I didn't think about any of that. I thought about what else is
Could I be
bad?
afraid of?
What else
Right,
is scary? And it was that first thought that popped in my head, but why? I thought, oh, like this can affect me financially, like I'm just getting clean. And so, when that happens, a lot of times we lose a lot of our things, cars, money, those kinds of things. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, I'm just coming up and like this is going to like bring me way down. And these are the ways that it's going to bring me back down that I've been working so hard for.
But
And
identify that it is fear, because fear hides under,
Yeah,
like what you were saying,
insecurities.
insecurities. It hides under anger. Fear hides under anxiety.
I want to work on ways to change that to not becoming.
That's
I
good.
like what you said because I want to change that into not turning into more anxieties. Like
Right.
so like identifying that you have been triggered, and that really the world is not falling down upon you right now because
diminishing the lie, diminishing that limiting belief system, diminishing the fact, okay, like, so I am anxious, but what am I anxious about? What am I, what situation?
Those problems already existed.
Right.
They were already there.
Right. So like, what situation makes me anxious, and why does it make me anxious? And if you uncover that, you'll see that there's a fear underneath that, you know. And if you can look at fear for what I think fear is like a lie, you know, something to hold you back from your potential, something to hold you back from your purpose, and you can acknowledge that it is just a self-limiting belief, and then you then have the power to walk through that fear and overcome ultimately, you know, what's going on. And rise up.
I think we try to do, and as like a solution based advice, I think that we'll often try to do it alone. So being 3 women in recovery, we do attend meetings where we get to share. But a lot of the big reason we're doing this is because there's what they call no crosstalk. So though you get to get those feelings out, I think it's really helpful. Like, I feel better just sitting here talking to you guys about my issues. You know, so we named this after the meeting because, you know, there's a lot of things that you want to share, but then you want to talk about oh, you shared this, like, me too, I feel that way too. And so these solutions aren't going to be like these godly, like this is going to fix everything. It's going to be like the little things that you do, as simple as trying the creative free writing, sitting down with your really close friends and getting those, or you know, or strangers that you may have something in common with in those fears, and talking it out and getting it out. Because if you're just sitting with it, you're just sitting by yourself with these things, and you're on Facebook trying to post funny memes and pretending that you're all okay, that you're okay because you're you don't want to look vulnerable to other people. And when in reality is that whether or not we all have the same fears, that we all have them.
Yeah, there's a beautiful existence for you on the other side of fear. Walking through my fear has given me such an amazing opportunity to be present in my children's lives, to be present in all of my relationships, to be present for myself. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I had so many fears that, I'm in my 30s, like things that I want to do like are too late for me to accomplish. But like, who said that's true?
Right.
Who literally said that? Like, okay, like once you turn 30, bitch, like anything you wanted to do, you can't. And I was buying some books. Listen, I was buying some books in Barnes & Noble. Only place open right now, okay? Place was popping, okay? And I bought a bookmark that said, it's never too late to be what you thought you might have been.
Oh, I love that.
Right, I often feel like maybe it is. I remember saying, I want to be clean by the time I'm 30. I want to be clean by the time I'm 30. And then I, for real, got clean when I turned 30. And I'm like, oh, but I'm too old for this, so it's too late for that. Or I'm counting numbers. Like, I'll be this age by the time I do that. I'll be this age by the time I do that. And I realized that just sitting there waiting for something to happen to me for all those years, nothing happened. And then by just changing one little thing in one day, like things have changed in a week. Things have changed in a few hours for me.
It says that you could just change one little thing about your life. Tony Robbins says you can change it's like 1 degree of an action, or take one action, like just the smallest action will change the entire course and direction of your life.
That's intense. I want to go back to the limiting belief systems. I want to go back to fear being a lie.
Okay.
And I really, really want to talk about the thought process, you know, because I think that that's everything. And I loved that when we looked up the definition of what fear is, it literally talks about emotion and belief.
Okay.
Right? Because fear is a feeling.
Fear, exactly.
Feelings aren't facts, right?
Feelings aren't facts,
Feelings
y'all.
aren't facts.
They are not facts.
They're not facts. And it's a belief. So it's a belief that something bad is going to happen. So it's almost like projecting something bad.
Yeah.
Right? And so that good fear is like, okay, yeah, I'm protecting myself from actual bad things. But most of it, for me anyways, it's this projection of like this crazy bad thing happening.
That
doesn't
not even
happen.
real.
Not even
it's
real.
Not even real.
It's not real. So for me, right? It's one of the acronyms for fear is false evidence appearing real.
Mm-hmm.
And that one I think is like my
I often think something really bad is gonna happen, like because things are I mean, I think that's everyone. Like when things are going really good, you're like, this is too good. So like, I feel like something's gonna bad happen, and I feel like I actually create that into existence.
Yes.
Like that, because I feel like
Yeah.
I do that often. And then just someone in recovery, we are used to having like these dramatic lives, and so we work really, really hard to get all these things, and then it feels very strange.
Very strange.
Very strange to have.
But then
Yeah,
there comes
have
the
good
next
things happen.
layer, you know,
Right.
then there's the next layer of growth, which we'll talk on that maybe in another video. You know?
right. So imagine if we all always expected the best, right? And imagine if we
That's
all
scary. I fear that.
Can we expect the best though?
But like, dude, expect
I feel
it.
like for me personally, you know, I am stepping into like a completely different phase in my life, you know, where I just got licensed to become a life coach, and we're doing the intervention certification. Ashley's getting certified for brain health and nutrition, you know, purpose stuff, man.
Yes,
Real
right.
purpose stuff. Literally, you know, 4 years ago, I was in Las Vegas with, you know, nothing and homeless, you know.
I never thought I'd see her again.
You know, and that one action, I took one action, you know, to get clean, and my life today is, I've been taken on this ride by following suggestions and, you know, walking through the fear that I have. You know, I did not think 4 years ago I had mediocre expectations for my life.
I'm gonna cry.
She's gonna cry.
She will really
I had
cry, though.
mediocre expectations in my life. You know, I'm a business owner. I have my children, you know, and I'm now on this new path, and I'm just really excited and invigorated. So to think, you know, that if I didn't listen to anything that I wanted to do, if I would have let my fear hold me down, I would be miserable.
Oh my god.
You know?
Yeah, I was just thinking, because my pivotal moment when everything changed for me was also pushing through fear. And I imagine it probably was for you too, right? I mean, making the decision to get clean, like that had to be so
Right,
scary.
right?
Which I think is not right. Like I still think, oh well, like that's just something I should have already done. So I don't really always look at it like I did this great, amazing thing.
right, but you were afraid doing it.
I just
You
really,
had to be afraid doing it.
I'm afraid of the life that I now need to build after getting clean,
Wow.
because I'm not just gonna not use and not have an amazing life. So that means, okay, great. The second I put this down, that means I gotta work really hard. And that's scary when you've spent many years coasting, right? So, you know, like you want to put it down, you want to put down what you're using, whether that's even just being lazy, whether that's drugs, like whatever, alcohol, whatever it is, the fear of like having to step it up.
Yeah, but you're doing fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, hello, look at us. Like,
Okay.
look where we are right now.
Let's go. Okay. I mean, so then kind of just to recap, basically, you know, I think we can all relate. We all feel fears,
Right.
you know, but some really cool things that you can do to change, you know, your mindset and change the course ultimately of your life. You know, identify what's triggering a fearful response in you, becoming aware of that first thought, changing the second thought, and then taking some action in your life, man.
Talking about it.
Talk
Yeah,
about it.
talking about
Take
it.
action.
Yeah.
Admit those
Right,
fears.
seriously. Be vulnerable.
Okay.
Like, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You never know what can happen for you.
Right.
We're all stuck on social media right now because we can't see each other, okay? But the number one thing that I'm seeing people relate to is the realness, okay? That's what people are commenting on. That's what people are then private messaging each other about, is what's really going on in your heart and in your mind right now. And I promise you, I guarantee it from somebody who doesn't often like to share, if you share it, you will feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to read something really quick.
Okay.
So the goal isn't to eliminate all fear, but to do what you love, even if you're afraid, to get what you need, to serve your purpose, even if you're shaking, to stand up for you and your beliefs, to live in hope and promise, to believe in and expect for the best.
expect the best.
Expect the best.
Yay.
Okay. Well, we hope you guys like this video. Make sure again to like, subscribe. If you guys have any feedback or anything that you
We'd
want
love
us
to
to
hear
talk
it.
about in maybe our next video, make sure that you comment in the comment box below. We also are available for direct messaging as well.
Absolutely.
If you have any questions or personal questions or anything like that. And we'll see you next time.